Yeah. Hey everyone, I just wanted to thank you for your time today and just welcome you all as a board, as a team, as members of the Born Rich board of directors. This is module number 2. We previously did module number 1 last month, and today we're going to be talking about piggybacking off of what we did, the influence of trust and the keys to building a strong foundation rooted in trust. So moving forward, why trust is important. I wanted to ask you all a quick question. Just throw out one words, maybe one or two words. What is trust to you? And
Believing. It's
believing,
believing in somebody.
believing in others. Okay. Anyone?
Yes, exactly.
Just belief in others.
Believing, believing in others.
Okay.
Well, it then it goes right to trust right after that, trusting one another,
Okay.
whether it be individual or together.
Okay. So
It's, it's
collective belief.
yes.
Irene, is there anything that trust?
Feeling safe with decisions
Yeah.
that you make for one another, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are all awesome. So all of you bring up great points. Collective, believing in others, believing in ourselves, trusting ourselves, feeling a safe environment where we can say what we feel without being judged, or bring ideas to the table without feeling like they're crazy ideas. So yeah, we're gonna get into all this. But first I thought we would start off with a great Simon Sinek is a motivational speaker and a great organizer that does a lot of group work and a lot of team building. And I came across this video, so I thought it would be great to share this. So I'm going to play this. It's about a 5-minute video. If you don't have any audio, I think the audio should be working. So I'm just going to press play and then we'll discuss it quickly.
The military is actually much better at measuring trust because for them, trust is life and death, right? That if you don't, and I've had so many experiences getting to work with Marines or SEALs or whoever, where the way they talk about trust, I'll give you another example. So I had the opportunity to visit Quantico, which is where the Marine Corps selects its officers. And I had a briefing by the colonel in charge of OCS, Officer Candidate School, and he showed up late for the briefing. Now, Marines don't show up late. You know, if you're on time, you're late. That's their belief. And he showed up late, and he said, "I'm terribly sorry. We've had an incident on base that we're considering throwing out one of our students, ending their career, throwing them out of the Marine Corps." And of course, Curious George here is like, "What happened, you know?" And he said to me, he fell asleep on watch. And I said, "That's it?" Like, he fell asleep on watch in the woods of Virginia, and you're going to throw him out of the Marine Corps? And you guys are pretty tough. He said, "No, you don't understand." He said, "When we asked him about it, he denied it. When we asked him about it again, he denied it again. And when we gave him irrefutable proof, then he said, 'I want to take responsibility for my actions.'" And the problem we have is you take responsibility for your actions at the time you perform your actions, not at the time you get caught. He said, "We had another Marine who fell asleep on watch. He owned up to it immediately. We punished him, and we have no problem with him." And then the colonel went on to explain to me, he says, "You have to understand, if I take this person and I put them in a leadership position, and if his Marines doubt for 1 second that their leader is being honest with them, or if his Marines think that he's doing something just to advance his own career and protect himself at the sacrifices of his Marines, trust will break and people will die." And so when in a combat situation, when there is chaos, and by the way, command and control is not a leadership mentality or philosophy that you can engage on a regular basis, and it's not so in the military, but it is essential in chaos. COVID is a great example. Like, when we went into COVID, that was chaos. Every plan went haywire, everything went haywire, and you do need leadership that does actually go into command and control. But the thing is that command and control only works when you have spent time building the trust up until that moment. Because when I tell you to follow my orders blindly, don't question me, just do it, there has to be the undying belief that you're making this decision for the right reason and you're not going to needlessly sacrifice me, and I know that you will make mistakes. So the Marines know that mistakes will get made and people will die because of those mistakes, but we're not doing them on purpose and we're not needlessly sacrificing people, and they will follow those orders blindly. Now that's an extreme example because it's the Marine Corps and it's life and death, but the same is true in business, which is you can't command and control all the time. That's micromanagement and that wears people out. But good leaders who are empathetic and spend the time building trust and care about their people in chaos, in crisis, they have the opportunity to convert into short-term command and control, and it's highly, highly effective, and the team comes together in remarkable, remarkable ways. But the trust has to be built first.
So getting back to what we were just talking about, let me get out of this real quick. So we brought up, I'm sorry, y'all, give me a second. My screen is all over.
The military is actually much better at measuring trust. The military is actually much better at.
So we talked about, so what he just talked about was a little bit about just trust. I mean, he mentioned the military and how they value trust. But there was something at the end where he talked about in business. And whenever we talk about business during this, it's mostly about not just our organization, it's just us as a team. The trust from my point of view, from a leadership standpoint, means I have to be able to trust you all. I'd be able to trust you all to, a lot of times I fall short. Some of my deficits that I'm working on is being able to, it's not that I don't trust the functional base of what you can do. It's more like I feel as though I'm bothering my team members. You all are a group of volunteers and you're people that I've known for a long time. So it's hard for me to say, hey, I need you to do something. I think you're great at it. How do you feel about that? So in my mind, if I'm overwhelmed, I'll just say, I'll do it all myself. When in reality, you've joined this board of directors and you probably want to take on more, or you probably want me to come to you and say, hey, why is Rich just not trusting us to do X, Y, and Z? So that's my level of trust. And in order for us to trust each other, we have to know each other. We have to know ourselves and we have to know each other. So this next slide is understanding that trust is a journey. We build trust with each other and just through people in our lives over time. Trust is not something that's always there. So as we build trust as a journey, in order for us to move forward in understanding that what trust is, let's backtrack a minute to module number 1. A month ago, we did a module where we understood ourselves, right? So let's do a quick recap about module number 1. So this is number 1. We talked about how we understand ourselves. These are character. We understand our personal character. Jesus walked this earth and he gave us a blueprint to follow with a character. That's when we talk about Christ-like character. So we see the word attachment. Just to go over again, attachment. That's our ability to trust others, ability to be vulnerable, ability to open up to others and relate. Obviously, we have to have a relationship with God, that vertical relationship, but we have to relate to each other, face to face. God wants us to be together. God wants us to connect with others. So some of us have a hard time attaching to others. This is one of my strong suits. I'm good at attachment, creating opportunities, but some people are not there yet. So that's a part of your character, your Christ-like character. Separation. Although he wants us to be together and united as one, he also designed us to be separately. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. The ability to have our own voice, our ability to have our own values and make our own decisions and set boundaries. As a team, there should be times where nobody on this Zoom should never feel unsafe. Irene brought up safety. Nobody should ever feel unsafe to say, hey, Rich, I disagree. I don't see it that way. On this training today, you should be comfortable. You should be comfortable enough to say, I don't feel that way, or even set boundaries. Just say, hey, the Zoom was supposed to start at 7. We didn't start till 7:05. I only have 45 minutes. Just set your boundaries in life, period. This is a part of our character. This is an area where I certainly struggle in separating. Sometimes I say things and I agree with people that I don't necessarily agree with just because I don't want to ruffle feathers. Integration. This is, it rains on the just and the unjust. Life is ups and downs. Just because something goes bad in your life does not mean everything is bad. There's still positive there. As followers of Christ, the journey is not going to be spotless. There's going to be negative realities that come along, and our ability to deal with those negative and positive realities and still cope and still move forward is a skill. It's a character trait. And adulthood is just maturity, confidence to make tough decisions in life, and the ability to mature enough to say, it's not always about me. I have to take others' needs into consideration, whether it be family, friends, loved ones, but also the ability to make those tough decisions. The outcome to having strong adulthood and maturity, it means it allows us to navigate life's hard times. Same thing with integration. We integrate the good with the bad. There's a gray area. I think we lost Irene. She's back on. There's a gray area. It's not there. It's okay to operate in a gray area. I struggle in this area. We all took a TPRAT assessment, and I'm just telling you what I tested on the TPRAT. I tested high in attachment, low in separation. I'm not good at setting boundaries, and I'm not good at integration. When things go bad in my life, I tend to go towards everything is bad. And somebody told me this: the presence of negativity in your life does not mean the absence of good. So always move that forward. So that's just a quick recap on what we talked about. So another quick recap, on our last session, when we talked about unlocking our team, as we talk about our team, the self-discovery, we talked about being able to make difficult decisions, and it builds confidence when we're able to learn more about ourselves. Has any of us heard the term emotional intelligence?
No.
No.
So emotional intelligence, a lot of people understand what IQ is, right? Our IQ when we are smart or intelligent,
Yes,
book
yes.
smart. Emotional intelligence is called EQ. This is something that it's how your ability to self-reflect. It's your ability to put yourselves in other shoes. This is a skill, this is a trait that some people don't have, but it could be developed. So it's ability to walk in somebody else's shoes at times, to say, well, I don't understand what it means to be a 40-year-old female. I'm not a 40-year-old female or woman. So, but I should develop my EQ and learn more about 40-year-old females and what they have to go through in this walk, in this world, to kind of figure it out. So once we raise our emotional intelligence, we can understand our own strengths, our own weaknesses, and our own motivations, and we can have more empathy towards others. Once we have a better understanding and confidence of ourselves, we are more empathetic. We can become more empathetic to others. So this is why we started last month with understanding ourselves a little better. It improves communication. Once we understand ourselves, the way we like to communicate, the way we like to work. Michael, you and I may communicate differently. I may work early in the morning. You may be a late at night person, and I'm over here sending you stuff early in the morning. We better communicate. We better work well as a team and gel. It enhances our team work once we know ourselves. So basically, is understanding ourselves is the ability to look within to see sometimes what we're projecting outwards. So let's get past that. We've already done that. So now we're going to move into what we've done today, right? Today we're going to talk about, we've learned about understanding ourselves. Now, to build team trust, we have to learn about understanding others, right? And it's our duty. It's our duty. Number one, first and foremost, it's our duty as appointed servants. We've all took on the journey to be servants of God in this life. And it's our duty to try to connect with others as much as we could, and to kind of get out of our bubble at times, and, be servants to others. So Mark 12:31 says, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. How can we really love our neighbors if we don't understand our neighbors?
Right.
That's where sometimes judgments comes in. So we need to have the ability to grasp, understand other people's perspectives, understands other people's walks in life. This creates grace, this creates truth, and creates the mercy. When we're able to do that, a lot of times when we get to know other people that may be walking in different lives, we serve different communities. So when we get to know other people, when we take the moments and time to get to know people, we understand a lot of times we have a lot in common. It may not look like it. Everybody on this Zoom is different, but we all have a lot in common. One is being Christ believers and servants of God, but there's more than that. So then once we get to know each other a little bit, it's kind of like a iceberg. On the tip, you can only, from the surface level of the water, you can only see the top. But icebergs are, you can only see the top peak of it. But then if you were to look under a water, iceberg is 300 feet below the surface level. Nobody sees that. That's what happened to the Titanic. They only saw that little piece of ice up top. They thought they could go around it. They couldn't though, because it was big underneath and they crashed and, things like that. We talked about empathy and respect. Once we can get to know others and have the ability to let our guards down and get to know others, it creates that respect for others. You may not agree with people, but you may have that empathy and say, hey, I don't see it that way. I don't live that way. However, I can see it from your perspective. And the last one we're going to go over today is cultural humility. Has anybody ever heard the term cultural humility?
No.
All right. So there's two different things. Go ahead. If anybody has any, I'm sorry, let me pause it. If anybody have anything to say moving forward, this is where we get into that kind of the meat and the potatoes of it before we do a quick activity and then you'll be on their way. Cultural humility.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So knowing yourself and loving yourself is what actually helps you to love others. You have to love yourself first.
Yes. It goes back to the first slide when we talked about the first one. It says confidence. When you have confidence in yourself, it brings a authenticity. So you can understand that, all right, we don't have to agree with each other. Actually, it's not always good to agree with each other. It's good to, say how you really feel. That's that separation piece, to be able to have your own
Right.
views, your own values. We're all different people. Even our walks with God, we have different ways of connecting. We don't connect with God the same way. We all may talk, pray differently, go in our different. Some of us may pray early in the morning. Some may pray in the shower. Like there's no right or wrong way. But however we connect. So it's just being able to understand ourselves first, not just our strengths, our weaknesses too. Just say, hey, this is something I realized I may be biased against. So this is just an example. Say if I was biased against people over 80 years old and they shouldn't be on the road, they shouldn't be driving. I have biases. We all have biases, we all have stereotypes, we all have these different things that we learn them off television, maybe our parents or grandparents pass us down. Just understanding our biases and in certain things help us to understand others. So just moving forward, just in essence, cultural competence.
Mommy's home tomorrow.
I lost you. Rich?
Rich?
Hello? There you go. Well, I hear Debbie. I don't hear Rich.
I'm muted by
I
accident.
don't.
I could.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So I'm sorry, I muted by accident. So cultural competency is, if I want to learn about the Muslim culture, the Muslim religion, I read a book. I read a bunch of books. I go on the news and now I'm competent. I'm competent. If I want to learn about a race of people are cannibals of New Guinea, I'm just going to read and watch National Geographic. Oh, so now I'm an expert. Not true. Not true. To be culturally, we work with different cultures in the community. We work with different race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender. We meet different people, especially as servants of God. We're constantly meeting people. If we only went based upon what we know, third person or third party, we would think we're competent in that area, but we're not. The level of cultural humility, when we get to understand others, this is when we say, I don't know everything. We're humble enough to say, I don't know everything about the New Guinea culture. So you know what? or the Muslim religion. So I am going to befriend some Muslims, or I'm going to go to a mosque and ask questions. I'm going to maybe have a friend over for dinner that from a different race or a different religion and get to know them and then get to know more people. That's being humble enough to sit down and say, I want to get to know you and your culture or your gender, or say, I don't have too many transgender or non-binary friends. Sometimes, and this is just me being vulnerable, sometimes I don't understand it. So instead of me just reading up on, transgender things, why don't I go talk to somebody and try to understand a little bit better. That's cultural humility. So today we're going to do a quick exercise, but first I just want to go through this really quick and press play, and we're just going to listen to this quick video.
Cultural competency and cultural humility. You may have heard these terms before, possibly in the context of healthcare settings, and not quite understood what they meant. Let's go over what these terms mean and how they apply to everyday life. To be culturally competent is to learn about other cultures, control your biases, and adapt your behaviors and communication style considering the background of people around you. The goal of cultural competency is effective and informed interaction across various cultures. At face value, cultural competency sounds ideal, but it may actually lead us to rely on generalizations about certain groups rather than recognizing the uniqueness of each individual. We also have to ask ourselves, is it realistic or even possible for people to learn everything about other cultures and become completely bias-free? That's where cultural humility comes in. To be culturally humble is to be aware of social power imbalances, respect other people's values and beliefs, and continuously reflect on your own biases. With cultural humility, there's no expectation that you memorize everything there is to know about other groups. Instead, it's a lifelong process of asking yourself how your own biases might impact the way you treat and understand others, alongside work to minimize that impact. Cultural competency is a goal, while cultural humility is a mindset. Let's go over a few ways to practice cultural humility in our daily lives. Recognize that no culture is superior to another. Become comfortable with reflecting on and acknowledging mistakes you've made. Be honest when you're not sure about something. Learn about other cultures with the awareness that you'll never reach perfect understanding. Ask the people in your life if you can have open discussions and hold each other accountable during your learning journey. The great thing about cultural humility is that it acknowledges that no one can get it right all the time. In fact, a key component of cultural humility is being open about what we haven't learned yet. Although it can feel really uncomfortable to admit when we're wrong or don't know something, that vulnerability leaves room for us to continuously learn, grow, and promote equity and inclusion in our communities.
Ooh.
So so pretty much that's what we just talked about.
Yes.
Let me give me 1 second. I have so many things on my screen right now. Okay, we'll get back to that. So cultural humility, it's, as an organization, even within, now we're talking about people outside of the organization, getting to know them a little bit, just creating that connection, those attachments. Maybe it might be somebody from a different religion, a different racial ethnicity group, or something like that. That's how we really break down those walls and kind of walk in other people's shoes. That doesn't mean agree, but it means it develops a level of grace that we can have for other
Yes.
people and understanding. And that's, like I said, it all goes back to servanthood and how can we serve others and how can we have a heart after how we were designed. We have a role model, we have a blueprint. That God sent his son to give us the blueprint on how to walk and talk and be loving towards others. This is the way to get to that path. But as a team, this also helps us as a team to grow. And we'll talk about that in a second. So with that being said, we're going to do a quick little
It goes from 1 to 5
We're
miles
gonna do
per
a quick
hour.
little assignment. Not an assignment. This is called beads of privilege, right? This beads of privilege is, we typically would do this in person, but since we're not able to meet in person, what we would typically do is I would get us all in the room and there will be 7 stations. Everybody would get a string and there will be 7 stations with different identities, and I'll go over those in a second. Each station has 7 statements, and we'll go over the statements in a second. If we were in person, you would get a color coordinated bead. And at the end of the day, you would answer each question. If the answer is yes, you just put a check mark. I mean, you put the bead on. If it's no, this is all individual. We're going to do it virtually. So basically, The Privilege Beads team activity aims to examine our privileges that we experience as members of social groups, and we'll go over those groups within the United States. It's important to note that this exercise isn't about inducing guilt or shame, but rather about acknowledging that everyone possesses some level of privilege or advantage. Through this activity, we can recognize our own privileges and collectively work towards promoting equity and understanding. It's very simple. I will flash across the screen 7 identities, and we'll go over what the identities are, and I'll let you know what that is. And there's going to be 7 questions or 7 statements. For you all, I want you to, if you could, just keep a mental note or check it off on a piece of paper, 1 through 7, and kind of tally up how many you got. Don't think about it too much. If the answer is yes, and you'll understand once I show you, if the answer is yes, do a check mark next to the box or
Can I
write
have
a
a
tally.
piece of paper
If
and a
the
pen
answer
or
is
something?
no, don't do one. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to get a piece of, it could just be a pen. You could just do a tally mark on the thing on your piece of paper if you want.
Okay, give me a minute.
Yeah, take your time. This activity is activity. I find it better to be in person. However, we're going to go over 7 different things. We're going to go over race and ethnicity. Some of the privileges we have are gender. Age is not, let me skip this one for now. All right, so let's do this. So the first one is very simple. I'll go over these as a thing. It's ability privilege. So when I go through these, if the answer is yes, make a tally mark. There's 7. So the most you can have is 7. Don't think about it too much. Whatever goes to your gut, your heart first, do that. So number 1, I can easily see the letters on this page, on this Zoom. If you could, write a check or write a tally. If not, don't do it. I have never been taunted, teased, or socially ostracized due to a disability. Number 3, I do not have to worry about where the curb cuts are located, or I don't know what a curb cut is. Remember, don't think too hard on this. Number 4, I can do well in challenging situations without being told I am an inspiration. I must be I am an inspiration. What an inspiration I must be to the people of my ability status. I don't think I read that right, but that's okay. Number 4, I never have to worry about having an interpreter. Number 5, I can easily complete tasks without requiring accommodations. And I think this is the last one. I never have to worry about if there are access ramps at the places I'm going. Very simple. That's number 1. This is ability. And we'll go after. I'm just going to keep going and we'll discuss it afterwards. The next one is race. Check a box. I can easily find makeup or bandages that more or less match my skin color. I can go shopping and feel pretty assured that I will not be followed or harassed. I can easily find people of my race represented widely in media, including movies and television. I can take a job with affirmative action policy without people thinking I was only hired because of my race. When I use credit cards or checks or for face-to-face transactions, I don't have to wonder whether someone will challenge my financial reliability because of my race. Number 6, I can be sure if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me. And 7, most of my superiors at work are people of my race. Don't think too hard. We're moving on. Sexuality privilege. I do not feel excluded or fearful because of my sexual orientation. People don't ask me why I made the choice of my sexual orientation. I can walk in public with my significant other without having people take a double take or stare. If I want to, I can find a religious community that will not exclude me from my sexuality. I can go months without me or anyone else referring explicitly to my sexuality. I can easily find sex education literature for couples with my sexual orientation. People of my sexual orientation are well represented in positions of power within my workplace. Moving on. Gender or sex. This is, gender or sex. I do not have to think about the message my wardrobe sends about my sexual availability. A decision to hire me will never be based on the assumptions whether or not I plan to have a family soon. I am less likely to be sexually harassed at work than persons of other gender identities. If I have children and I'm in a successful career, few people will ask me how I balance work and home. I never have to worry about being recognized as the sex or gender which I identify. In general, I am not under much pressure to be thin or worry about how people will respond if I am overweight. Major religions in my world are mainly led by people of my sex. Moving forward, 3 more to go, and we're done, and we're almost done. Religious privilege. I can assume I will not have to go to work or school on my religious holidays. I can be sure that mainstream media will celebrate the holidays of my religion. Foods that honor my religious practices can easily be found in any restaurant or grocery store. Places to worship or practice my religion are numerous in my community. I do not have to worry about negative consequences or disclosing my religious identity to others. Most people do not consider my religious practices to be weird. My religious views are reflected by the majority of government officials and political candidates. Moving forward. Socioeconomic. Now this is class. I believe this is no, we have one more. Socioeconomic. I can be sure that my social class will be an advantage when I seek medical or legal help. I do not have to rely on public transportation. I can afford my own vehicle. I am fairly certain I will not have to skip meals because I can't afford to eat.
Excuse me.
My neighborhood,
God bless.
bless you. My neighborhood is relatively free of drug use, prostitution, or violent crime. I have taken vacation outside of the country within the past 3 years. Most experts appearing in mass media seem to be from my social class. I have a savings account with at least 1 month's expenses in case of an emergency. And lastly, in case of an emergency. And lastly, if I apply for a job, my legal right to work in this country will probably not be questioned. I will never be denied housing in the U.S. due to my citizenship. I can go into any bank and set up a checking account without fear of discrimination. I can be reasonably sure that if I need legal or medical assistance, my citizenship will not matter. I do not fear that my employer will threaten me with deportation. If I wanted to, I could travel freely and to almost any country and be admitted back into the United States. If I were a victim of a crime, I wouldn't think twice about seeking police assistance due to my citizenship status. Okay. That's that. So
Wow.
There's a score sheet. Typically what we would do is we wouldn't even have to do this. You would see the beads, the color coordinated beads. So me personally, I'm looking at my score sheet, right? I see an ability. I have tons of privilege in that area. This is stuff that before I did this a long time ago, I never thought about folks who have to worry if I leave now and go to downtown and I want to go to a Capitol building, I never think about, is there ramps? Is there elevators? How many stairs are there going to be? I don't have to worry about that. I have ability or disability. I have tons of privilege in that area. I didn't even know what a curb cut was. I don't have to worry about the stairs, the elevators, and things like that. So this is a reflection. So I want you to go down the list. You don't have to share it, But just be, if you do feel like sharing it, just be aware of some of the areas where you are privileged, or advantaged, and some of them that where you are not. For example, I'm very privileged in ability, in gender, as a male, and this is just for the United States. As a male in the United States, I don't have to worry about being sexually harassed at work. I don't have to worry about if my employer is going to think I'm going to take time off to have a baby, or what I wear to work. Is it going to be sexually revealing? This is what some women have had to go through. Michael, we may not know too much about that, so we may be privileged in that area. I'm not sure. I'm not going to speak for you.
I understand, and you're right.
Yep. And
I mean, I don't wear skirts. I'm not trying to be funny here,
No, I
okay?
got
So
you.
I don't know.
Yep.
If I ever wore a skirt, would I be harassed? Absolutely.
Yep.
And I know that. And, but I'll say this, okay? There are women out there that will dress that way. Could it be on purpose? So they have a reason to go to their boss or whoever and say, hey, this guy's harassing me. And she's at your job and you're supposed to be, dressed normal. And she has, her butt cheeks are hanging out of her skirt. Okay. I'm being honest here.
No,
Okay.
this is a safe place. This is a safe place to agree or disagree with anybody. Remember, this is about building trust. This exercise is just to merely remember the main goal of this training is to understand others so we can be a better team and trust each other, right? So we can not only trust each other, but trust the community members that we serve. So if we're out here serving community members, we may not be able to relate to them so close because we come from, a lot of the community members that we serve, we live in a higher socioeconomic, we have more money. We work with predominantly marginalized families, right? Disenfranchised.
Okay.
So we have more money. We don't have the same troubles as them. But the goal is for us to understand them a little bit better. Like, we don't have to go to bed. We have a month saving. I don't know. I have a month savings account. If I don't have to worry about if I'm going to eat tonight. I have a roof over my head. I'm not going to have to worry about that. That's my advantage. That's my privilege. Would anybody like to share anything that's a little eye-opening to them? Maybe where they feel they didn't realize they had privilege, or where they didn't know that they were not privileged in any of these.
Actually, all of them. The race, the sexuality, the gender. Not religious so much because I guess like a Muslim would. Citizenship, that makes me sad that people are judged on all these things.
Yeah.
Because I guess I am privileged. It made me realize I'm very privileged in most of the areas.
Irene, you were
Yes,
going to
we
say
are.
something.
I'm looking, okay, in the religious area, okay, we all hear it. Okay, I don't know how to word this, to be honest with you, but I'll just put it out there how I see it. Okay, we know who we believe in, Jesus Christ as our Savior, okay?
Yeah.
But you go out there and you try to say it, share it, wear a shirt or whatever, that's where a problem comes into play. A lot of times, not all the time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Okay, but if I was to, I don't know, we'll go to the Muslim side, okay, and just say Allah's the greatest or something, or I got a Buddha shirt on, okay, I'm probably going to get complimented. Okay, where if you say something or wear something or show something with Jesus, okay, so in the religious end, yeah, do I feel I'm at a weakness or a disadvantage? I feel that way.
Mhm.
But in the ultimate end, I know the end result. That's how I feel.
Yeah, this is all individual. This thing was all about, we don't need to know what other people feel privileged in. This is just for you to self-reflect. If you do want to share that, and I do like to appreciate that we're sharing, just kind of to get aware of there's so many different things out there that we may overlook or may not see with the people that we serve, or even each other. So I wanted to ask you all a couple questions. What did we leave out today? What are some other systems or identities that we may be leaving out that weren't represented? Oh, we only did ability or disability, race, sexuality, greed, religion. And socioeconomic and nationality. Is there anything else that we left out today?
Yeah, age. You left
Age.
out age, and
Yeah.
now that I'm older, I think Irene will be able to agree with me. Your doctor's appointments are different. They look at you as an older person, and they're not going to take the time with you. They're not going to find what's really wrong with you. They kind of just, yeah, okay, you're okay, go home now.
Or they
So
will ask you those questions. Do you know
Right.
who the deer is? Do you know who the president is? They automatically do that on a daily basis if you're in the hospital when you're over 60. Because to me, that's discrimination.
Yeah,
those
and
questions-
Medicare has it now that whenever you go for your yearly, those questions have to be asked. And that's, to me, it's why do you do that?
Mhm.
Yeah, age.
But I do feel that all of these on this list, they are very enlightening, because when you look at how we feel in comparison to other people, it's sad.
Yep.
It's sad because
Yes, it is.
we don't understand how other people feel in circumstances, just like they don't understand how we feel.
Absolutely.
And you're looking at, a handicapped person. If you're not handicapped, you'll never know what it's like to try and cross the street when you're blind and you have a white cane. My husband's cousin was blind, and he was dumped in New Haven and said, "Get home." I'll never understand that fear and that feeling, but I have empathy.
Yeah. And remember, Irene, this is what we talked about. I'll go back really quick. You brought up the word empathy, and that's basically being able to step in somebody else's shoes and kind of have
right.
understanding. If we go back to the beginning, right? When we learn more about ourselves and have that confidence in who we are and understanding we don't know it all, it begins to build. When we go to ourselves, we learn about ourselves, we build up our emotional intelligence. That's self-reflection. All that is the ability, self-awareness. I don't know everything.
Right.
I need to be more open towards this. Then when we go learning about new perspectives, then that empathy piece comes in. That was the third step. Remember, building trust is a journey, walking in other people's shoes. And then that leads to cultural humility. Once we're able to begin to walk into other people's shoes or develop that mindset, then maybe we'll ask somebody next time, like Michael said, from a different religion, and say, hey, how come if I wear a shirt with, with Jesus, with a portrayal of Jesus or a Bible scripture on it, I feel this way? Or you'll be more comfortable saying this. I can wear a shirt with Buddha on it, and I won't be ostracized. But if I wear a shirt with, with my religious practices on it, I feel this way. You'll be able to share it more. You'll be more comfortable.
Right.
It all comes down to having that conversation. So as we go, this is called intersectionality, right? Intersectionality is the acknowledgement that everyone has our own unique experiences in discrimination, oppression, good, bad. That's the integration. We must consider everything and everything that can marginalize people: gender, race, sexual orientation, physical ability. One thing I noticed is this. You brought up age. So think about this. As a leader to this organization, right? I have to be more considerate. Getting on this Zoom today was a challenge for some of us, right? We're still missing some members today because they weren't able to get on. I come from more of a technological generation, right? So this is nothing to me. I didn't take into consideration the difficulty that it would be for some people to get on. So just by me knowing that, next time as a leader, I have to shift. I have to say, okay, maybe I can offer Zoom training, or let's do these in person. Let's wait till we get
Yeah.
together in person. So that's a humble approach, saying I don't, I didn't know I had that privilege before we got on today. Small things like that. So is there any other identities that we left off today? One of them that I remember is education. That's a privilege. Some
Yes,
people
yes.
some people have an educational privilege, age, there's so many
Right.
of them. And we all have different ones. The intersectionality piece of it is, where is that thing? We could be many of these. The goal is to understand ourselves and have the ability to understand others. So basically this is, and the final takeaway is this, and then we can talk.
Not even just the ability to understand them, the compassion
Yes.
to be part of it. Because I'm going to use an example. When my son died, everybody said, "Oh, I understand how you feel."
No,
Well, you can never understand the feeling, "Oh, well, I just lost my mother." I understand how you feel. It's not the same. So you'll never understand that feeling of that pain
Yeah.
unless you've gone through it yourself. And some of these items here, we'll never understand them fully.
Yep.
But we can have the compassion to be
Yeah.
a little more understanding of how they deal with certain things. We can kind of fake it through the whole thing because we're trying to be compassionate and sympathetic and tolerant. But those are all things that, you got to be careful with those verbiages because, oh, I understand. Not necessarily. And no, not necessarily will you ever.
Yeah.
But you can listen to me and, like you said, trust that I'm telling you the truth,
Yeah. Well, like
It can be, it's a fine line.
Yep. The third one you brought up, the third arrow, you'll see empathy and respect. I should have put
Mhm.
sympathy, because there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. When somebody says, "Oh, I understand, you lost your son," and they haven't lost a loved one, you can sympathize. Oh man, but like you said, if you don't go through that, you'll never understand what that
Well,
feels.
we understand the loss. We understand of the loss of a loved one,
Yep.
but there are specifics. You understand the love that you had for your grandmother,
Yep.
and you understand the love that you had for, a friend that died. But to have a child that dies is a whole nother ball of wax.
Yep.
So, it's a whole different, we'll never understand each other fully.
Of course.
But I think to be tolerant and compassionate and sympathetic and all of those words are all the key.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and it all comes down to take out the word culture from the bottom, cultural humility, just put humility.
yeah.
Do we have the
Humility.
humility to somebody that doesn't look like us, act like us, somebody maybe that we don't like, to try to get into
That's
their
right.
heads and kind of understand
That's
them a little
right.
bit? How does this tie into what
Yep.
we do? So the final takeaway is trust the process. Number one, begin to work on ourselves as individuals. Me as the leader of this organization, I have to understand where my shortcomings are. What are my biases? What are my things? So as we strive to understand ourselves better, we will naturally develop the skills that it takes to understand and connect with others more effectively. That will
Yes.
lead to us understanding others, humility, empathy, their respect, their perspective. Once we learn about others a little bit more, or take the humble approach to get to know people, even people that we've known for years, or trust them, we can recognize how the same we are. We're very different. Like I said in the beginning, God made us connected to each other under Christ's umbrella, but we're very different. He made us all different. We're all unique under that same umbrella, but we're all connected. Then we'll find our shared purpose as a team. As a team, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have love for others and want to help others and compassion. You wouldn't be volunteering for this board. Respecting each other's boundaries as a team. understanding others' contributions are not any bigger or smaller than what we do, than the next person. Integrating our working geniuses. We didn't go over working geniuses yet, but this is something that we'll do moving forward. We'll learn about what our working geniuses are. Some of us are very skilled at ideas. Some of us, there's 6 gifts that Patrick Lencioni talked about that God gave us in terms of
Is that
working.
what his name was?
His
That
name,
guy that did the,
no, this is we just read the book in class, and I'll get
Okay.
this book for everybody. So there's Wanderer, and that's more of the person. This is what I am. Oh man, imagine if we develop the Born Rich Foundation and we become global and we help people in Tanzania and this and that. You're thinking the biggest things. And then there's an inventor. Okay, who's the person that's gonna, and then there's the discernment. There's a person that's gonna say that doesn't know how to think big picture, but they know how to get it done. They know, oh wait, I know how to do that. I can connect the pieces and invent and put everything together. I'm not good at inventing. I'm good at the dreamer, but I'm not good at putting them together. So I would align myself with a person that knows how to get it done. I'm the visionary, you execute. Then there's a person that just has, my gut doesn't feel right about that. God, the gift of discernment is a great gift. A lot of business people that don't have God in their life do not understand that God gave people that gift, the vision, the gift, discernment, an enabler, somebody that's going to motivate people and bring people together. If that's their skill set, like, come on, guys, let's do this. Let's have a Zoom meeting. Let's get it done Friday. There's so many. There's 2 more. There's an enabler. There's a galvanizer. That's the person that's going to motivate and rah and get everybody on board. And then there's the tenacity, the person that just likes to execute, get things done. Give me a list
Yes,
and
yeah.
I'm going to get it done. We all fall into these boxes, but however, in essence of time, so it starts with understanding ourselves. Then we must move into understanding others. That's why we did the work, the experiential activity today, so we can kind of begin to develop that mindset where we can look at a person. Maybe we'll drive by and see somebody that's disenfranchised or on the corner, or panhandling, and we may look at them a little different today. We may not think the first thing is drugs. We may think, well, maybe they lost everything. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they have, mental health, or, as long as it opens our minds a little bit more. And then the end of the day is it all leads to trust and rapport. Through self-understanding, we often discover common human experiences and emotions. This realization helps us to relate to others on a deeper level, fostering connections and understanding. My job as a leader to this organization, I felt as though I've known you all for numerous years, but I haven't known you. So how can I lead you all in a program as far as what we do as a team if I don't truly know what you like? Instead of Irene, you might be a person, hey, I just like, give me the list of what to do and I'll get it done. Michael, you may be differently. Michael may have big dreams about what he wants to do in his community or with the school system. And I haven't made it a safe space for him to come and say that, because he might, I don't know what I'm talking about, or he may be doubting himself. So this is where trust comes in. So I just want you all to understand, as we move forward throughout the next 10 months, we want to continue to build on trust, becoming a safe organization. We talked about believing in ourselves, believing in others, and feeling safe. So remember, as an organization, we should be safe to feel however we want to feel, think however we want to think, and bring it to the team without fear of judgment or because that's how innovation, that's how great things happen. If you have an idea, bring it to the table, and I have to create that safe space for us. But I thank you all for being here today. I'm going to stop the Zoom right now. Does anybody have any questions or anything else? I want to thank you all for joining us. Our next session will be in April, and it's going to be called Exploring the Elements and Principles of the Basis of Trust Within a Team. This is how to trust each other as a team now. We've understood ourselves. We started thinking more about ourselves. get to know ourselves, strengths and weaknesses. Now we're starting to think about getting to know others and how that leads to trust. Next, we're going to really deep dive in how to become a better team grounded in trust, because without trust, we go nowhere. All right. So I'm gonna stop the Zoom right now. It's not gonna hang up. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop recording, but it's not gonna hang up on you all. Just
Okay.
give me a second. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining, and I appreciate your time. Oh, hold
No
on.
problem.
Anytime.